Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Kevin Kirby Dolphin.
Here.
Tim Hatcher.
Here.
Ben Hanton.
Here.
Zach Little.
Here. Motion to approve the agenda. I'll make a motion. Need a second? You need it?
I will second.
Okay.
I already said second.
Okay, need to ask for a motion to open a public hearing.
Let's just quick, all in favor? For approving the agenda? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Ask for motion to approve, to open the public hearing. I'll make a motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I probably actually need a roll call vote. I'm not loud. Ben,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
Tim, Kirby.
Yes.
Okay, we're open for the public hearing.
We do have somebody online. So this public hearing is your opportunity from the public to speak and make comments. It's not an opportunity for question answers. So you have 3 minutes under the ordinance. So if the person online, Nick, if you have anything to say, if you could state your full name and your address for the record.
Nick Borkovic, 2323 Birchwood in Asbury. I'm on the call for Jared Barrel's meeting with the board.
Thank you.
Have anything, Nick, for us or?
No, I don't. Sorry, I was just here for listening on that discussion.
Okay. Jared, you're.
I take podium.
Yes.
3 minutes.
All right, I see everybody had a PowerPoint presentation that I forwarded over. I will kind of go through a little bit about me here.
Okay, Jared, this is for comments. only.
Comments?
Comments, 3 minutes comments. This is the public hearing portion.
That would have been
So-
very nice if you would have communicated that prior to this.
I apologize for that.
Very
But this
much
is-
lack of communication through this whole process. I thought I would have time to present my facts and go through this now at this time of this meeting.
You have that opportunity when they start to discuss. This is for comment
Okay.
on the hearing.
Okay.
So we're not shutting you out by any means. It's just, this is the opportunity for comment only.
Okay, comments, I guess, I don't feel that my fence is within reason of the proposal that I've laid out forward in this PowerPoint presentation of what I'm requesting from the city for a variance at 8294 Calbridge Street.
Does anyone else have comments that they'd like to make? Then you could go to the next step for the public hearing.
Okay, I'd like to make a decision to close the public hearing.
You don't need a motion for that.
So we need a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Yes.
What does that entail as far as closed to, is that?
It closes the public hearing because there's nobody online that's making a comment. There's nobody here that's making a
Okay.
comment.
Thank you.
You bet. So Zach, was that your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
And now I'll do a roll call vote on that. It'll be Herbie,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Zach.
Yes.
So now we're going to move to the agenda portion of the meeting, and that's where we can have an open discussion.
So my feeling is on the fence is, we have an ordinance in place for the Piazza fence ordinance. Any corner lot is 30 feet setback. And I feel that since we put the ordinance in place, that we should abide by the ordinance.
30, may I interject?
Got that, yeah.
That 30 feet rule does not state from curb. It's that 30 feet is on slide 8. It says the wording is appropriate for how it is worded in the ordinance or worded in the fence permit. It is the straight line intersection. It does not say 30 feet from curb or 30 feet parallel to the road. The 30 feet or the 25 feet that is mentioned several times in the Piasta Code of ordinances, the fence permit, the obstruction of the intersection refers to the intersection. That is two lines coming together by 30 feet at that intersection, drawn by a horizontal line where nothing can be planted, constructed, or put in its place.
Well, I'm a little confused by that, because on your note to us, you specifically said 30 feet from back of curb.
That is Dean's, that was the city approval without my written consent. I verbally, like I told Dean when he came out, the first time he came out and measured 30 feet from curb. By the way, that's the only time he actually measured anything when he came out from the city. I acknowledged the 30 feet from curb because that's what he approved. I verbally said yes that day because I didn't have all the facts. I went and looked further into the rules, the ordinances, took a deeper dive into all this information, and it does not state 30 feet. That is where that 30 feet came from. That was not my recommendation. My original proposal was right on the property line, which comes out about 20 feet, right on the property line, which would be equivalent to 20 feet back from curb.
If you refer to setbacks on residential zoning on a corner lot, it refers to your setbacks and the fact that you have two fronts.
Correct.
Therefore, they must be abided to on either direction of the street.
I would argue that I would acknowledge the setback, but in the ordinance and your rules, you really start to create a gray area. You disclose what a building is. In the ordinance, you disclose what a fence. A fence is a freestanding structure. Well, then you talk about setback, and a setback is a buildable area. You say build a building, buildable area, and then you go into you talk about on top of that, you talk about setback. You define what a setback is, and you go setback front, setback rear, and you bring in structure and building, and you define a building as a livable space. A fence really isn't a livable space. It is a barrier to hinder movement across a boundary.
My question is why are we here? What's the variance for? Why?
The variance is for me to allow me to build my original fence proposal. Let's go to.
What's the difference of the 10 foot? You know, what I'm saying is right, the Piasta City zoning is 30 feet. You want to move it 20 feet to get 10 more feet. What's the reasoning for the 10 more feet?
Well, you're saying the 30 feet, you're still focused on 30 feet setback from curb. That is not a problem.
I'm not worried about the 30 foot or the 20. I want to know why you're asking for the variance for the extra 10 feet.
I want the extra 10 feet. So reference to my primary drivers on slide 3, primary drivers for my variance. I have 2 very large dogs. I have 2 Siberian Huskies. I've kind of gone through, and again, let me focus why I want this. It's about safety, not only for my family, but also for just having a safe, playable space in my backyard. I have 2 Siberian Huskies. I want them more freedom to allow to run around. In this picture, if I concede the 10 feet, I lose 610 square feet in my yard. It really squares up my yard, and I lose usable space of my yard because honestly, when I fence it off, am I going to use anything outside of there? No. I have a 2.5-year-old. I have a 1-year-old. I want to allow them to go outside and play in a big enough yard, and where I don't have to worry about them running into oncoming traffic down Birds Road. I mean, the residential area here is just getting bigger and bigger, and there's more traffic cars don't always drive 25 miles an hour down this street. They sometimes drive 35, 40 flying by my road. And additionally, I mean, it's about security and then also privacy. I gained some privacy in my backyard, so there's more and more people, I don't know who all walks on the sidewalk there. So it's just about having privacy and not allowing, you know, everyone to look into my yard and see my kids playing out back and then something happened to them, because, you know, that's the other thing. It's why a 6-foot fence? I want the 6-foot fence because I don't want anybody to see my girls playing out there. It's a matter of, I don't want a 4-foot fence where someone can look and, you know, walk up and, you know, God forbid, you know, take one of my daughters. That's the other thing. And it's a big investment in my property, just alone to increase the value of my home, in the future. And additionally, I can prove in my slides that where I'm proposing to place my fence, it's not an obstruction to the intersection. I can lead into that if you would like.
No, irregardless, whether it's an obstruction or not, the ordinance is 30-foot setback. So is there something different? You know, can you bring the front of the fence out closer to the front of the street to gain that 600 back? Can you move it back farther towards the back of the house? I'm trying to figure out what you can do to gain that.
How are
back.
you applying the 30 feet?
Well, I'm gonna.
You're saying
refer that
from
to
her.
Dean, because he's the one that has said that, but you need 30-foot setback from the curb line. Am I correct on that?
That's my understanding.
Curb line to where the fence starts.
If we have the page of R1 that shows an actual corner lot,
Look at my note.
in the residential R1, I believe it's in. It states the setback from front. Corner lots refer to two
Two
fronts.
fronts, like this front and
Therefore,
that
has
front.
to be maintained from Culp and from Piasta Street.
Correct.
My decision was made based upon safety of children on the sidewalk. We approach Culp Ridge there, have to come out beyond the fence to be able to see traffic coming from the east heading west.
No, you do not. Go to.
We have to do that when we're plowing snow, when we have our bigger equipment, and even with just general vehicles. I mean, the pedestrians that come from behind them trees, if you're looking both directions and take a second look, that approach when it's unexpected. When we have our snow plowing vehicles, we have to get out there further. Therefore, that puts that blade out on Birds Road. It's a major concern of mine
Understand.
when the weather conditions are the way they are.
And we got a lot of people walking, running, I mean, all year round.
Can you go to slide 9? And I'll start talking from there. That's slide 11, slide 9. My truck, 9 feet setback. This stop line is improperly placed at this intersection. Why I reference the DOT regulations, sight distance, pavement markings. This is my view from my truck at stop. When paired with a stop sign and a stop line, you're supposed to stop your vehicle ahead of the white stop line. As you can see, me sitting back in my truck, taking a picture down this intersection, right here, I have a tape measure set 6 feet high. It is directly in line with the back of my tree. Right here, if you look, go to the next slide, please, slide 10.
That's
Kind of zoomed in here. Here is where I propose to put my fence. The view is no more obstructed than where I plan to put it based on the tree in the back of my yard. This arrow here is depicting the 30 feet setback by curb when Dean came out that day to mark where my property was. So my argument would be that even with my fence, you're saying stop back from line, the view is no more obstructed than it already is. If you go to slide 10, 11, I kind of placed in here a marker of what that would look like. My fence will not obstruct the view more than it already is in that intersection.
Jared, if we refer to the setbacks right here, it's 20 foot from property line.
Yes,
Give or take a foot, most property lines are set back 10 foot from back of curb. That's where I come up with the 30 feet. When I refer to the 30 feet from back of curb, it is basically, like I say, give or take a foot, whatever it may be, to the property line from back to curb, which generally comes up 9, 10 foot. And that's what I base my 30-foot decision on.
So in other words, it's 10 foot or 20 foot from property.
Property line.
Property lines are usually 10.
And it also states within this verbiage of R1 that no structure be built within that 20 feet. And that also included fences and continuous plantings.
So regardless, you have to be 20 foot back from the property line.
From the property line
Mary Pence.
to a structure.
I would argue that that is a kind of a moot point. You've already set the precedent several times over of allowing fences to be built in Piasta. If you follow that setback rule verbatim on what fence, you put a contingency in the fence permit that it may be placed up to your property line. If you look 3 streets down from my road, there is a privacy fence directly on the street. If you scroll down in this email chain, I can kind of show you where it's at.
That may have been built.
That was before we had
That
the
was
zoning
prior-
code.
That was prior to the fence.
Correct, but then also you're talking setback, but you also the fence to be built 3 houses down in the front yard of another fence. I'm sorry, you allowed a fence to be built in the front yard based on those setback rules.
And that may have been before the zoning as well.
No, that was built in 23. Zoning ordinance came out in 22. You continue to, I mean, there's multiple fences going up in what the Thunder Valley Estates. Essentially ignoring or being approved without the setback. Technically, if you follow that verbatim setback rules of where fences are supposed to be placed, 20 back from the back of the lot, 6 feet from the side of the lot, and then also what you said is true, 20 from the front yard. That would really that would box my fence in and it would look ugly. It would make your usable area of your yard. As a homeowner, it wouldn't add any value for your home property. Additionally, I guess what I would like to, I know you're talking, it's safety, and I would really implore to go to slide. When I'm looking at site distances, if you go to, sorry. Slide 20.
One or this one?
This one. So you say it's about having, I want something to work for both of us as far as the city and I, as far as intersection visibility. The DOT states that this white stop line is supposed to be set 4 feet back from set 4 feet ahead of the crosswalk. And as you can see, when you go down the street, they're all placed in different spots. My street is at a serious disadvantage of where that stop line is at. And when a vehicle pulls up to this intersection, watch the vehicles. They don't stop at that line. There are some, then they creep forward. They're pulling up closer to get closer to that intersection. You go to the next slide, please. If you pull this in to the two proper DOT regulations, as far as I laid a tape measure out from, this is marking 6 feet and a 2 foot stop chalk line, white line, where the vehicle should be placed. So you put the vehicle in the motor vehicle is in a huge issue, not being able to view the intersection. So if you slip to the next slide with the stop line where it should be, this gives you the best view of the intersection. And I get the setback, but that's why I'm here for a variance. I think my proposal is reasonable for this intersection of where I want to place my fence and the visibility of this intersection to be safe.
Dean, how far does your plow stick out?
And there again, and that's just what I was gonna explain. We abide to what you're describing right there. We put the truck, we put a plow truck in the position where it's at. Not indicating that that's gonna be exactly where it's gonna be at, but on top of the fact that we have a plow that sits in front of that, we're then into the crosswalk.
Go to slide. I would argue that that's also not a proper view of the ordinance of a large vehicle. All these DOT sight lines and site visibility of what an intersection should be. Sorry, kind of going out of order here. Slide 15. Yes, thank you. This, for an intersection site distance and how you determine what you need for visibility,
But none of those pictures have that plow in front of them.
correct? Because the DOT does not include plow trucks in that ordinance.
Well, DOT doesn't plow in residential areas. DOT highways and roads that they are. That's probably why that verbiage isn't
They
included.
have plow trucks, they have
But they
plow
don't
trucks.
plow in residential areas. We do. And I can see where the issue would be, because as you're traveling, as we all know, to push snow, you're gonna have to go 35 to 40 miles per hour. That snow is gonna get thrown up onto the sidewalk. And if there's a fence there, you're running a risk of damaging your fence.
I saw.
Can I please finish? Sure, thank you. So the snow will get thrown up there, and then what happens? You as a homeowner are responsible to come out and clean the sidewalk off. Where does that snow go? Does it go back into the street? We hope not, but it's gonna go back up against your fence, and it's gonna be problematic, especially if there are additional snows coming back behind that.
There's plenty of property there to throw snow. There is more than enough space to put snow here. This is about, I'd say, 10, another additional 10 over 10 feet of space to put snow. I don't think snow removal is an issue when you're talking about sidewalk removal.
Does it become a visibility issue?
What's that?
Packed up snow.
Now you got snow from the street and you got snow from your sidewalk, so you're doubling it up, I mean.
For that intersection.
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of a special case. We've never had that much snow here. I would argue, you're talking what, 30, 40 feet of snow at that point, or you're, 2 feet of snow, 3 feet, 4 feet. I don't think that's outside the norm. You're considering piling it up. I'd be concerned more with snow being, if you got that much snow, the amount of snow that would be on this curve equally there, because this does dip down. This is on a hill, it goes down, so putting it up on the hill.
So I understand all this and what Dean's saying. At the end of the day, the fence needs to be 20 foot back from the property line. A variance, for us to do a variance would be if there's something in the way of the fence being in there. For example, there was a Black Hills Energy main line or something, and you had to move the fence around this. You're just looking for a variance for more room, which isn't really, it's not really a variance because there's nothing in the way. You're just moving this for more room. If there's something in the way, then there would be more room for a variance. But at the end of the day, if they're saying it's 20 foot from the property line, it needs to be 20 foot from the property line, correct?
I would agree.
At the end of the day. Now, if there's something, if you have, like I said, if there's something in the way of that where you want to put the fence, like I'm saying, a power meter or, a great big Black Hills Energy gas pipe or something, or whatever, then you have to move it that way. That's more of a variance. This is more or less, hey, I want more room. I want to put 10 more feet so I have more room. That's not really variance. That's just, I want more room. Because there's nothing in the way at that 20 foot. So At the end of the day, I think it, the way it's being said, it needs to be 20 foot from the property line. At the end of the day, regardless of safety concerns or anything like that, because at 20 foot, you're not a safety concern anymore, because you're pretty much at 30 foot back.
You're honoring the setbacks.
Yes.
I would agree with that.
And we can sit here and talk all day about the safety and everything, but at the end of the day, it needs to be 20 foot back. There's nothing in the way for it to get moved. So that's where I'm at with it.
I would agree. Else got any comments or? I'd be in agreement. Yeah.
Next step would for you to somebody make a motion to either accept it or deny it. And then you get a second, and then you take a voice vote, and the decision's done.
So question to that, you're gonna hold me to this and to the setback rules, but then you continue to set the precedent of not in other districts, the setback rule, you're requiring me to honor the setback, the 20-foot setback from property lines. But other fences being put up in other residential areas here, new constructions, they are not following those setback rules. They're not following the setback from the back of the property line. They're not following it from the setback from property to property from the side lot. And then you're gonna require me this hard stance of, hey, I can prove that this is not a visibility, it's a safety, it doesn't really affect, I don't believe it affects safety if this intersection was properly laid out to give the motor vehiclists the best visibility in this intersection per the white stop line. My fence would not be an obstruction. I don't think I'm being unreasonable or trying unfair to ask with this committee for the additional 10 feet to, really, make the most usage out of my yard.
No, everything is, you said is great and everything. At the end of the day, we're just the advisement board. We can't go out and enforce everybody's fence. We're just the adjustment board. We don't do anything other than hear people come in for adjustments. We have nothing to do with fences. If that person comes to us with an adjustment, we listen to it, but we don't make the decisions on, whether or not they come and see us or where the fence is. We're just here to make the decision on what we have.
And honestly, you can't say that's truly the case, Jared. There's a similar situation on Royal Oaks and Piasta Street. As you turn into Royal Oaks, the right-hand side, that gentleman put a fence up. He asked if he could build it out to the property line. I told him no, that he had to honor the setbacks. And he said, I'm not gonna have a backyard to make it worth fencing. And I said, that's a decision you have to make as a homeowner. But I said, I am going to apply. I mean, considering the situation of the bus stop, the parking stalls that are available along Piasta Street and everything else that I took into consideration, and he honored it.
I understand you're just looking for more square footage, I would try and move it around a little bit, bring that front fence up a little bit more towards the front of the house. Maybe that'll give you some more room. I don't know what the setback is from the house next to you or how close that is.
I considered that, and originally I originally had it, I just didn't like the curb appeal. I did not like bringing it out here to even on a 30-foot, like if you go to, there's really no value of trying to extend it out here. If I honor that 30 feet setback, that line is like right there. There would literally be 6 feet from the edge of the house. No point in putting a fence there if that's what, that's kind of why I landed on this. This is how this came about. Is it was originally over here, and I pushed it back because it didn't look right from the street. It looked And then here, I actually had this at 20 feet, and that's, I had to back it off about this is actually gonna be 19, about 18 feet on this line because of the utility lines going through here might be, I have to honor the 18-inch setback from a utility line. Similarly back here, it's kind of hard with my fence line. I had to set back. And this is why I, early on called 811 out to mark my property so I could actually go out there physically measure and make sure where I was gonna be in, for the property. So that's why I'm here today trying to, get this additional space.
No, I understand.
I mean, it's been I'm a very calculated person. That's how I got to where I'm at today. And that's why I'm here ahead of the board to request this.
I don't have anything else.
I don't either. I mean, I don't see any way we can approve it. I mean, there's no problem if we approve it for one, then you gotta approve it for everybody. And it's just, you're opening a can of worms and since there's no reason for
But
us
they
to
would still,
approve it.
they would still have to come to this committee and for a variance. They'd still have to prove their case.
And like Ben said, there's no reason for this variance because there's nothing in the way. And that's the way I see it as well.
So let me play a little devil's advocate then, I guess, with you here. Technically, based off of the zoning ordinances, the obstruction of the intersection, you go to the 30 by 30 triangle. Technically, I'm here for a fence because it's a fence permit. I want to build this fence, but there's really nothing preventing me from say, I want to put a hedge here. I could put a hedge without obstructing this in the that corner. I could technically put a hedge right here and not break the Gasacota ordinances. Legally, I would, it's one of those things. And then I could do that and then, grandfather in essentially. I mean, that's the right of any homeowner to do that, as long as they don't obstruct the intersection for placing. So then it again becomes a new point. I could have a hedge of shrubs, 2 feet and basically still essentially do the exact same thing my fence is doing, but with natural shrubs.
It cannot be continuous planning.
It says
It
here,
is also stated continuous planning in the fencing permit
no fence or continuous
and
planting
in the zoning ordinance.
on a corner in any residential district, nothing shall be erected, placed, planted, or allowed to grow in such.
On which one again? You're referencing my document, correct?
No, this intersection visibility.
I mean, I'm just,
Oh, it is.
it's a lot of,
Yeah.
No
it is.
fence or continuous planting shall be maintained within 30 foot of any corner lot, street line intersection, which would impair the sight distance of operating a motor vehicle. So it's within 30 feet on that one. Right there.
sorry,
No
Continuous
fence or
plan.
continuous planting shall be maintained within 30 feet of any corner lot, up top.
right,
Very first one.
Even on the fences belong.
that's intersection, that's not a line, that you guys are implying 30 feet rule. If you refer to the setback, yes, I'll grant you that the 20-foot setback, but the wording here is important. 30 feet at any corner lot, street line intersection, that refers to the visibility triangle. That refers to the visibility triangle of an intersection. That does not include the property line. If you go to, sorry. That is what that states, street line intersection. And then I bought this up and put this in here because it's referenced several times, obstructing view at intersections. That's 25 feet distance from the intersection of the right-of-way lines measured along the right-of-way lines. That is your visibility triangle for the intersection, intersecting line of the roads, 30 feet. The next slide. That is what that means. That is the obstruction triangle. I cannot plant anything in that, but if I wanted to, if someone on a corner lot, they could plant trees, shrubs, and not break the code of ordinances.
Jared, it also states that in the Piasta Code of Ordinances. This is what I was talking about before, when it refers to the 20-foot setback, that also refers to fences and continuous planting. In the Piasta Code of Ordinances.
Yes, but that is what the obstruction, that refers to this, the 25 feet. There is no, legally, it does not state 20 feet. You keep implying that's 30 feet.
That refers to the 20-foot setback, and that is from the property line. Again, that's where I come up with my
Building.
30 feet.
That's building. That's not, that does not include. I guess it's, yeah. That is the, it's not legally, it wouldn't, it's about the intersection visibility, that triangle, not setback at property line. That's why it says, that's why the obstruction, 25 feet from the point of intersection, of that intersection. Not 30 feet setback parallel to the road. I mean, if you want to argue the setback based off of the zoning for R1 for a building or structure, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna make a decision here. I mean, you can sit here all night, I think.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to close it.
Well, you have to vote
Oh.
whether you are going to allow the variance or not allow the variance.
Okay.
We have to motion to vote.
No.
Or do we, oh, we just vote.
You can go ahead and vote.
I'll make a motion or vote to not approve it.
We're gonna
I'm
need to
saying-
say yes, so we can get it recorded.
To
Yes,
not,
to not, so we're
Do not approve it.
not approve it.
Okay.
so I'm just gonna write no's down,
No.
right? So. Who's in, I'll just go in order.
We'll just do a voice.
Do a voice
We can-
vote.
No,
No,
no.
No.
There's nothing else on the agenda, so you can make a motion to.
I'm asking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. You don't have to go back for it. I'll have that, maybe.
Hold on. Yeah.